It's been over a year since I made this video that's helped a ton of people. Since then, I've gained 9 more tips to make you a better split boarder. Our first tip is gonna make you faster on your tours. In my hand, I'm holding 2 different types of skins. One is mostly nylon and the other is a mohair blend. This is the type of skin that I used to have when I first started splitboarding. Now, over these skins here, these provide tremendous traction, but at the expense of glide. If you're doing a lot of long backcountry tours, which mine tend to be, these are gonna be overall a lot slower at the end of the day versus a blend of nylon and mohair. This blend here makes it a lot better for the gliding portion of your tour, as well as making lightweight and a lot more foldable and stowable. It made me way faster and way more efficient on tours versus the 100% nylon skins that I used to rock. Speaking of skins, there's a very important step that you need to know when you are sizing your skins to your split board. One of the things that you do when you're cutting your skins is you put it against the edge of your board and then you bring a knife down the side of the skin. And that's fine. However, what you want to do is you want to make sure that you cut your skin to the width of your board. But then after that, take your skin and then put it to the outside of your edge even more and take off a few centimeters more of space so that it will lay perfectly on the center of your ski rather than take up the entire width. If you have space over it, what happens is a lot of times you'll overlap your skin from your edge, and snow tends to get into that part of the skin and then it starts to decrease the glue there. More skin talk here. Storing skins after you're done with your run. Make sure that you're just not throwing your skins in your backpack. Now you can do that. It's just going to take more time and it's going to be less efficient than just simply stowing the skins in something like your bibs. This is what I do at the top of all my transitions. I'll just simply open up my coat, open up my bibs, throw them in there, and then I'm good. I don't have to take my backpack off, put them in there, and then fish them out when I'm done with my run if I need to do another lap. It also keeps them a lot warmer next to your skin than just throwing them in your bag. If your skins are hard to separate, you're sitting here like this sucks, especially like on the first run of the day. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put it between your legs like so, hold on to the edges, and then you're just gonna use your knees to come through here, keep coming down and separating the skins. This is such an effective way to make sure that you're not spending a bunch of time to rip them open. However, what I'll do if I've been doing laps, especially when my skins have gotten a little snow on them so they're easier to separate, is I'll just put it up at the top here, and then it's going to be super easy, especially once you got a lap on these skins, to just pull down and then paste your skin on your ski. One of the biggest challenges for new splitboarders, and me specifically, was knowing where the heck to go. What was the approach line into a line? Where did the actual descent go? All these things have been solved with a super simple app that you've probably heard of called Onyx Backcountry. Now, I got Onyx Backcountry about 2.5 years ago after seeing a bunch of my buddies using it. It had the lines on there, it had where the approach was, it had the background on the descent, it had the stats on there. Everything was super helpful. I made the switch 2.5 years ago and I have never looked back. And I want to thank Onyx Backcountry for sponsoring this video. I've had the Onyx Hunt app for 10 years, so I knew that they make great products. But I didn't realize how much easier of a time Onyx Backcountry would make the backcountry touring scene for me, among other things. Essentially, we were riding this new area in the Enchanted Forest, it was called, but we didn't know exactly where the approach was, and we didn't know exactly where we could ski down. All you have to do is you have to toggle ski mode, and it's going to give you the actual routes that you can ski around the area that you're in. Now, this is super helpful for us because there was no ski tracks, there was no skin trail that we could follow because there was a bunch of fresh snow. So we didn't know exactly where to go, so we just followed these routes. The second overlay that I have on this is the angles. And this is obviously great because you want to avoid very steep angles on the uphill and the downhill, especially when it's extremely avalanche prone, which is a third thing that this app integrates in, which is the avalanche forecast. It overlays what the report is for that particular day. I'm telling you guys, this is 100% worth your money. It's $30 for an annual subscription. I'm telling you, it's going to save you so much time. Highly recommend Onyx Backcountry. I'm so stoked to be sponsored by them. For my next step, we're going to be talking about risers, and there's different settings when there is steep terrain. And what I encourage you to do is to not put these down as often as you think. In other words, when you put your risers down, you're actually shortening your stride length. And that is bad. We want to be as efficient as possible when we tour. So I really only put my risers down to their highest setting when it's extremely steep terrain. And at that point, you should probably already be switchbacking anyway. But typically, if I'm going to be doing risers, I'm going to be putting it at its basically the lowest setting. Very rarely do I have it at that highest one. And you definitely have to not be lazy and pull them up when you get to a flat spot, because that's going to be extremely bad for your efficiency when you have them still down and you're doing something flat. That's when you can really tell how much shorter your stride length is. Next, we're talking about crampons. If you're going to be using ski crampons, make sure that you put them on before you actually think you. What I always tend to do, and one of my biggest splitboarding faults, is I put on my crampons too late. It always seems to be that I start to think about putting on the crampons when I'm in the middle of something that's steep and icy, and now it made it 100 times harder to actually put the crampons on. Put them on earlier than you think. Next is kick turns. So one of the things that you want to implement when you're doing steep terrain is making sure that you're switching back up the terrain. So we talked about switchbacks. Switchbacks are synonymous with regular summer hiking. When they have the trail that kind of goes diagonal, then it goes diagonal back to that. So when you're putting in a skin track, or when other people are, typically you're going to have these switchbacks instead of going straight up, because if you go straight up, you just can't do it. With kick turns, you can save energy by doing that switchbacking up, but you can also save energy by doing this particular type of turn. Now, this is going to take some practice, but this is going to make you very efficient on those inside turns for those steep switchbacks. Next is communication in the backcountry. And communication is really king when it comes to backcountry skiing, especially when you are in something like really thick trees or cover, or you're doing leapfrogging where one person goes, make sure the conditions are fine, the next person goes, and you always have that backup between the next person. What I picked up last year were these walkie talkies. These have been synonymous with all types of backcountry travel, and you don't need to get these particular walkie talkies, and I'm not sponsored by them, but I will say that these have been amazing over something like Walmart walkie talkies, just for the simple fact that the battery runs so freaking long in these because they're lithium batteries. I barely had to charge these all winter, and they've been great. They come backcountry ready with the carabiners here that you can actually clip to your backpack. It just makes things a lot easier. You never know how much you need walkie-talkies until you actually get into a situation where you're like, oh, this would actually be a really good thing. 98% of the people that watched my last tips video were not subscribed to the video. So if you guys could do me a huge favor, I'm trying to get to 13,000 subscribers in the next couple months. Please hit that subscribe, and we'll see you for the next tip video. Here's a video I think you're gonna like next.